I've got these high-achieving parents that are basically, no one exists outside of performance. You've got to perform, otherwise you don't exist.
They were
successful people in the world, financiers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of pressured here.
You're one of how many?
I'm 2.
Got it.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I do here? And I'm thinking, I got to do something. Plus, I was losing my hair. I know that sounds like a strange thing.
I was going to ask about it.
Yeah. So about 19.
You look better than I've ever seen you look.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I don't say that. I have no reason. I'm not trying to butter you up. Like, you're already on the podcast. I already got you here.
Okay. So I'm there at 19. All the hair's falling out. I go to a doctor and go, what's going on? I must have a disease. And he goes, no, you're just going bald. I said, well, I'm 19. He's like, well, it happens to people. I said, well, not really. And he goes, yeah, you're in an unlucky 5%. I thought, oh no, unlucky 5%. I don't want to be in that unlucky 5%. And it was a real tragedy. It knocked my confidence totally. I was very keen to meet a nice girl. And I just thought, well, I've done it here. I'm finished. Like, no girl. I met recently a compatriot of yours, a billionaire, a bald billionaire.
One of us.
I won't name him. Very nice man. Very nice man. And he said to me, brother, when did you go bald? I said, 19. He said, me too. And my response was, I knew I had to become a billionaire, and I did. I thought, okay, interesting. So it's quite a wound. For a certain kind of man, this is quite a wound. And I thought, right, what am I going to do here?
When you say certain kind of man, what do you mean?
A really insecure man who doesn't think he's got any worth.
All right, let's play philosopher, psychotherapist. If your parents had been less performance-based, right? Do you think you could have weathered the hair loss?
Yeah. If I'd grown up with a sense, look, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what people say, it's you. It's the precious essence of you that matters. I'd be fine. I mean, first of all, I'd have a normal job and I'd just be a normal person. But if you don't get that, you go nuts. I mean, I am now a psychotherapist, and I would say that everybody I see, everybody who shows up at the door of psychotherapy has got a wound from 0 to 10. And it's, broadly speaking, what gets called, it's not the nasty kind, a narcissistic wound.
Yeah.
Necessary narcissism, good narcissism. In other words, that a child has not been mirrored correctly, does not have a good, solid sense of self. And those people, do all sorts of things. But one of the things they do is appear on podcasts and write books and things and try and get a bit noticed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's silly.
I'm interested in the fact that you went from being philosopher to therapist, like directly therapist, because you were kind of a therapist anyhow. It was like mass therapy.
Yeah.
More like a Jim Jones type thing. Okay.
Do we do the early bit? No, let's skip forward. So basically during COVID, I thought, I'd always thought maybe I need to go back to school just for the thing. And therapy was, I'd had a lot of therapy, and I always thought, what do these guys really know? What's the training? And I knew all the books and I knew all the ideas, but what I didn't know was the technique. And I really went for the technique. And what I really realized is that psychotherapy is different from philosophy. Philosophy wants to get to the truth and the real ideas. Psychotherapy is interested in how do you get the truth and real ideas into people's minds so that they will accept them. Because psychotherapy, I know it sounds like a weird thing to say, but is obsessed by the reasons why good people refuse insights that are good for them. And we all know this. We all know how, you meet somebody, after 5 minutes, you can probably get a sense of what they would need to do to improve their lives. Like you're going to get that person's laughing hysterically and they can't take anything seriously. This person seems self-sabotaging, whatever it is. You get a picture of it. But that picture is not going to be effective unless you can lower people's defenses, build up a relationship, and very slowly walk down a path so that the idea becomes their idea, not some idea that's come in from outside. I have a therapist friend who sometimes says that she's sitting with a client and there's a window out into the street, and she imagines an advertising billboard with on the billboard what the client's problem is. Like, it's your mother, and the client's sitting there going, well, it could be. Sometimes I wonder if it's maybe a female. Nah, and then another 32 sessions or 102 sessions, and then eventually maybe it's my mother, and then on it goes. So we need to come at our own insights in our own time, in our own way, and psychotherapy at its best creates the best conditions in which we can arrive at our own thoughts rather than simply swallowing the thoughts, however wise, of somebody else.
Do you feel like you were healed by psychotherapy? Do you feel healed in any way? Do you think that's a real thing?
It's degrees. It's degrees. I think I'm in a better place. I don't believe in full healing. I think it's about being in motion towards a goal. I think that I'm very interested, if we think about relationships, I'm very interested in how two people could come together. Neither of them needs to be perfect, but both of them have to be committed to a process of acknowledging their imperfections and kind of almost handing one another a map and saying, it's there, that thing, I know it's sort of there, so can you help me? And I think I've reached that stage. I've reached the stage that I could give someone a good map and go, okay, things are not perfect, but we've got some of the main features of the landscape, and I'm not going to flare up if you tell me about them. I'm going to be with you on this. So that's progress. Yeah.
So you believe in therapy as a very, very valuable tool.
Let me caveat that with a huge thing, which could sound negative. There's no such thing as therapy. There's no such thing as comedy. There's no such thing as literature. There are great comics. There are great writers. There are great therapists. The thing as a whole contains an unbelievable number of subpar practitioners. Huge, as does comedy, as does literature, as does everything. Pilots, almost all pilots know how to land the plane, etc. A lot of writers don't know how to land the story, etc. So you really got to be careful. And I think, a lot of my friends have said, oh, I tried therapy and I don't like therapy. And I want to go, no, you tried a therapist. You went for the first one that you met. They weren't any good and you've despaired too quickly. So you've got to keep going. I mean, if you want to keep going, you've got to go and look at 20 therapists and maybe one will be interesting, a good fit for you. So, it takes time. And I think also it's part of lots of other things. You've got to go off on your own. You've got to have long baths. You've got to chat to friends. It's a multifaceted thing. It's one tool towards, a therapeutic journey.
Do you think there's a value to just getting on with it? There's like the Drama of the Gifted Child, that book of like, you must find the wound and mourn it and marinate in it. And I've been a person that, and I have friends that have marinated in their problems for decades. And after a point, it's a bit like,
Yeah, I'd say try and put your wound to use. Try and put it to work.
I've done that also.
That's brilliant. You see, that's the best thing one can do, is to use your wound. If your wound is, I don't exist, well, try and exist. If your wound is, nothing changes, well, try and change something. If your wound is, I'm so sad, well, tell the world about your sadness. Try and put it to work. I think, the most productive people are drawing energy from neurotic components of their personalities, and that's okay. They've just found the best possible way to handle it. I mean, Freud had this theory of sublimation, and he thought that great artists and entrepreneurs, etc., are all engaged in the work of sublimation, whereby they take something low, a neurotic conflict, a sexual resignation, or whatever, and they put it to work and create Beethoven's Ninth, Van Gogh's thing, a computer company, whatever your sublimation of choice is. So I think there's a difference between being healed and productive, and I think productivity is an interesting thing.